Welcome to Neurodegeneration Awareness and Artificial Intelligence, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of the intersection of neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and global health. I'm your host, Dr. Sukant Khurana. Today's episode, AI and Genetic Diversity, Tackling Neurodegeneration in Africa's Unique Populations, dives into how Africa's extraordinary genetic landscape, environmental diversity, and a great rise in the technology of AI is shaping neurodegenerative research, and more importantly, how it can shape to make Africa as developed as any other part of the world and provide affordable and yet cutting edge care for it. Today, we have some amazing young researchers Kanak, Sohit, Sahil, Aditya, and Jinyasa. These are all students of different age groups. Some of them have completed bachelor, some have completed masters, some of them are AI experts, and some of them are biology experts. I'll be exploring this topic to see from the eyes of young people how they see this world, which is most in need, whether it's countries of Asia, whether it's countries of South America, or here in this particular case, Africa, how they wish to see this transformation happen because young scientists are our future's hope. So let's start with Sohed, and I'm sort of looking at the genetic diversity and neurodegeneration. That's sort of the broader context. Sohed, so let's begin with you. Africa's genetic diversity is often called living library for biomedical research. Could you explain how this diversity uniquely influences neurodegenerative disease risk and research compared to other global populations?
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Sukant. So Africa's populations harbor the greatest genetic diversity on the planet, and this translates into both unique challenges and opportunities for neurodegenerative research. For instance, variants like ApoE epsilon 4, widely recognized as a risk factor for Alzheimer's, behave differently in African ancestry groups. And recent studies show that the risk conferred by ApoE epsilon 4 is actually lower in some African populations, possibly due to interactions with other local genetic factors or environmental exposures. And moreover, rare variants in genes such as AKAP9 and ABCA7, which are either unique to or more prevalent in African populations, have been linked to distinct neurodegenerative pathways. So, this diversity means we can uncover novel mechanisms of disease that are invisible in more genetically homogeneous populations, offering a richer understanding of neurodegeneration globally.
Yep. Thank you, Sohit, for highlighting unique genetic signatures. Kanak, building on it, how do you think of environmental and socioeconomic factors in Africa? How do they interact with this genetic diversity to shape neurodegenerative disease patterns?
That's a crucial point, Dr. Sukant. Um, in Africa, environmental exposures such as air pollution, industrial chemicals, and even urbanization combined with genetic predispositions to create complex risk landscapes. These all are there. And for example, exposure to particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide has been linked to increased dementia risk, particularly in rapidly industrializing regions. And socioeconomic factors like poverty, limited healthcare access, and education gaps further modulate these risks. And women especially face a heightened vulnerability due to psychosocial stressors. What's fascinating in the interplay is that like certain genetic variants may either amplify or buffer the effects of these environmental stressors, underscoring the need for context specific research and interventions.
Yep. So that's Really a good point. Now, let's look at, these have been good insights both from you, uh, Kanak. Now, Aditya, how does this interplay of genetics and environment inform the way we approach neurodegenerative research in African contexts?
That's a great question, Sukant sir. The interplay means we can't simply import findings from Europe or North American studies and expect them to hold true in African populations. Instead, we need to locally driven research that accounts for both genetic and environmental realities. This is where initiatives like H3 Africa and the African Ancestry Neuroscience Research Initiative are making a difference by generating data that's truly representative. It also means we have the opportunity to discover novel disease mechanisms and potentially new therapeutic targets that could benefit people worldwide.
Well, that's again very true. Thank you, Aditya. Let's pivot to the role of artificial intelligence. Sohed, how is AI helping us analyze the vast genetic and clinical data emerging from African neurodegenerative studies?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sukant. AI and ML are transforming our approach to neurodegenerative diseases, particularly Alzheimer's, by enabling us to analyze complex data sets more effectively. In African populations where genetic diversity is immense, traditional statistical methods often fall short. So, AI and ML here can identify subtle patterns and biomarkers that might otherwise be overlooked. For instance, AI-driven analysis have uncovered associations between rare AKAP9 variants and tau pathology in Alzheimer's, highlighting the importance of population-specific studies. These findings underscore the necessity of integrating AI/ML approaches to better understand disease mechanisms in diverse genetic backgrounds. In my very own research, I have developed ML pipelines focusing on Alzheimer's disease. These pipelines integrate QSAR and molecular docking techniques to identify potential amyloid beta A4 inhibitors, aiming to accelerate therapeutic discovery. Additionally, at the BMS lab in EHU under Dr. Pang, I've operated multitude of mass spectrometry for TB and NTM, like tuberculosis and non-tuberculosis mycobacteria sample analysis. Like while this work centers on infectious diseases, the methodologies are pretty much transferable to Alzheimer's research. For instance, there are several studies where Malitov has been employed to analyze amyloid beta, like A beta peptides, a key biomarker in Alzheimer's, like which enables the detection of PTM, which is post-translational modification and aiding in biomarker quantification. So this technique offers a less invasive alternative to CSF, which is cerebrospinal fluid analysis, facilitating early diagnosis and monitoring of disease progression. And in Africa, initiatives like the African Initiative for Bioinformatics Online Training in Neurodegenerative Diseases, shortly called AI Bond, are equipping researchers with the necessary tools to analyze extensive Alzheimer's disease data. Such programs enhance the continent's contribution to global research efforts and ensure that AI driven discoveries are relevant to African cohorts. So, like, by integrating AI driven analysis with advanced techniques like multi-top mass spectrometry, we can better understand the unique genetic factors influencing neurodegenerative diseases in African populations. So, overall, this approach holds promise for developing targeted diagnostics and therapies that are both effective and culturally relevant.
Yeah, that's true. That's really fascinating, Sohit. In fact, learning about your work on infectious diseases also. Kanak, from your perspective in molecular biology and cell culture, how can AI driven discoveries translate into laboratory or clinical advances?
Yes, so AI predictive power is invaluable for prioritizing experimental targets. Like, for instance, if a machine learning model highlights a novel gene environment interaction, we can then design the cell culture or animal studies to validate those findings. And in neurodegeneration, this could mean testing how a specific African variant protein influence neuronal survival or synaptic function. And AI can also streamline drug screening by predicting which compounds are most likely to work in genetically diverse populations and accelerating the path from discovery to therapy.
Yeah, thank you, Kanak. All this interdisciplinary interplay is can be very transformative. Sahil, what are the technical challenges in applying AI to African neurogenetic data, and how can we overcome them?
Yeah. So one major challenge is data scarcity and imbalance. Most AI models are trained on European datasets, which can lead to biased predictions for African populations. There is also the issue of computational infrastructure, which can be limited in some regions. So to address this, we need more open access African genomic datasets, investment in local computing resources, and the development of models specifically validated on African data. So, techniques like transfer learning and federated learning can help bridge some gaps by allowing models to learn from diverse sources without compromising data privacy.
Excellent point, Sahil. Ex- uh, so, Aditya, uh, as someone working at the intersection of data science and medicine, how do you see AI shaping early detection and personalized intervention for neurodegenerative diseases in Africa?
AI has the potential to revolutionize early detection by integrating genetic, clinical, and even environmental data to identify at risk individuals before symptoms appear. In resource limited settings, AI powered mobile tools could screen for cognitive decline using speech or movement analysis, making early intervention more accessible. On the personalization front, AI can help tailor treatment strategies to an individual's unique genetic and environmental profile, which is especially important given Africa's diversity.
Yeah, that's good, Aditya. Thank you. Jinyasa, as an undergrad in data science ML, what excites you most about potential of AI in this field? And what skills do you think next generation of researchers should focus on?
So, yeah, what excites me the most is the opportunity to make a real world impact by bridging technology and healthcare. The next generation should focus more on interdisciplinary skills, combining strong programming and data analysis with a deep understanding of genetics and neuroscience. Like communication is also a key. Being able to explain complex AI models to clinicians and policymakers will be crucial for successful implementation.
Yeah, that's really good. Sohit, what are the main translational challenges in bringing AI-driven neurodegeneration research from lab to clinical practice in Africa?
Yeah, so translating AI research into clinical practice in Africa faces several key challenges. Like as Sahil said already, the AI models are trained on European data sets. So the first thing would be data limitation. Like many AI models are trained on data sets lacking representation from African populations, leading to less accurate predictions for these groups. And second would be infrastructure constraints. Like implementing AI solutions require robust computational resources and reliable internet connectivity, which may not be readily available in all regions. And third would be expertise gaps. There is a shortage of trained professionals in AI and bioinformatics across the continent. Of course, there are programs like AI Bond, as I said already, are working to build this capacity. And the fourth key challenge would be ethical and regulatory considerations, ensuring data privacy, and establishing clear guidelines for AI use in healthcare are really essential steps it to be fully addressed. Yeah, so addressing these challenges requires collaborative efforts, investment in infrastructure, and even tailored training programs to harness AI's full potential in improving neurological health outcomes in Africa.
Well, thank you very much, Sohit, for these insights. Sahil, what infrastructure and policy changes are needed to support sustainable neurodegenerative research and AI innovation in Africa?
Yeah. So we need investment in research infrastructure, biobanks with high performance computing and training programs for local scientists. Policies should promote data sharing while respecting privacy and community ownership. Also, international collaborations must prioritize capacity building and avoid extractive practices. Ultimately, empowering African researchers to lead their own studies will yield the most impactful and sustainable advances.
Yeah, that's true. Jinyasa, how can we foster interdisciplinary collaboration between neuroscientists, AI specialists, and clinicians to accelerate progress in Africa?
So, interdisciplinary collaboration thrives on an open communication and mutual respect. Creating shared platforms such as joint workshops or hackathons and cross disciplinary training can break down silos. And encouraging co authorship and shared grant opportunities also helps. So, most importantly, patient and community voices should be included from the outset to ensure research addresses real world needs.
Yeah, that's true. Now let's look at AI bias, equity, and other things. So, as we consider the promise of AI, it's vital to address its biological and ethical risks. Kanak, how might AI deployment in African neurodegenerative research inadvertently distort our understanding of populations' specific disease mechanisms and what safeguards are needed?
Yeah. So, building on Sohit's insightful overview on genetic and clinical data, it's important to recognize that while AI and ML offer powerful tools for discovery, their impact depends heavily on how well they are adapted to the biological and environmental context of African population. And one key concern I would say is the risk of ecological and regulatory blind spots. Like when AI systems trained without integrating regional neurobiological data fails to account for interactions between genetic variants and environmental stressors such as heavy metal exposure or chronic infection, which can modulate neuroinflammation and accelerate disease progression. These oversights may obscure the critical disease pathways or mischaracterize the risk profiles. And additionally, many African genomes contain underrepresented proteomic and transcriptomic signatures that, if included from model validation, can limit the translational value of biomarker research. And to truly harness the potential, as Sohit described before, we must embed AI into co designed research frameworks that reflect local biology and including the diverse epigenetic patterns and also the tissue specific expression profiles while ensuring data governance frameworks respects the economic autonomy, the genomic autonomy, and support equitable translation into diagnostic to therapies.
Yep, that is very good insight. Sahil, how do technologies and policy technologists and policymakers work together to ensure AI promotes equity rather than exacerbating disparities?
Yeah. So collaboration is the key. So policymakers should set standards for data diversity and model transparency, while technologists must design systems that are adaptable and explainable. Community engagement should be built into every stage of the AI cycle. So by working together, we can ensure AI serves everyone, not just those already represented in the data.
Yeah, that's true. We must make sure we take everyone along. Thank you, everyone, so far. Aditya, any final thoughts on balancing innovation with responsibility in this space?
Yes, sir. Innovation and responsibility must go hand in hand. By centering African voices, investing in local talent, and upholding the highest ethical standards, we can harness AI's power to advance neurodegenerative research in many ways that are both groundbreaking and equitable.
Yeah, that's a very good closing note. Thank you to all the young scientists. It was very good discussion today, especially with the genetic diversity of Africa far supersedes the genetic diversity of the rest of the world. That's where humans originated. And I think understanding African genetic diversity in the context of neurodegeneration is the key for us to solving it better. Thank you for being here for such an important thing. Stay curious, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue to explore the frontiers of neuroscience and AI. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.